And I'm sure you did enjoy all those beautiful songs we played earlier. It's still the month of love. Unfortunately, we'll be saying goodbye to it again. But we'll be jumping into another month that celebrates Ghanaians and our heritage and as a people. And so that also has its own format that we'll be bringing to you. And you don't want to miss out throughout the month of March. It's going to be incredible scenes over here on this very channel. I'm talking about Joy Prime and also on this show, Prime Morning. So don't miss out on anything that we'll be doing in the month of March. It's Ghana month, and we're super, super delighted for all the things that we've got coming your way. And so we'll move on to News Flash this morning. And yesterday, it happened. Yes, it did happen. The State of the Nation address by the President, His Excellency Nana Addo Akufo Addo, finally came, and I'm sure you've got your own interpretations of many of the things that were said. You have your own contributions you want to share. You can share them with us here on the show. What did you make of the State of the Nation's address yesterday by His Excellency, the President of the Republic? We'll be delving into that conversation here on the show. But of course, there were chants of the former president Mohammed's name when it was mentioned at the floor of Parliament. The minority in Parliament were actually adamant in stopping those chants until the Speaker rose to his feet. We'll be looking at that also here on the show. They say JM Beba. Now, before we get into all those, details and introduce my representation here in the studio, of course, we'll go into the front page of the newspapers. We'll check out what has been reported. And I start off with the Daily Graphic. On the front page, it says State of the Nation address faced tomorrow with confidence. The president rallies citizenry, and a high unemployment rate was messing. Minority leader spoke about that after that he moved the House to adjourn. Now, SONA reflects country's condition, experts says so. Work with parties for credible elections, President to the Electoral Commission. And that's the Daily Graphic of this morning on the front page. Front page of the Daily Guide has over there Kumasi Airport named after Prempeh I, and 2024 SONA, I will ensure free, fair elections, Akufo Addo says so. We've made huge investments in judiciary, and the NDC selects running mates on 7th of March, 2024. Performance tracker coming, says the president, and that was also stated in SONA yesterday. So that's the front page of the Daily Guide for today. Away from that, let's get to Ghanaian Times. Most authoritative newspaper says, don't take our territorial integrity for granted. President warns Ghanaians, and that's His Excellency captured over there at SONA 2023. Now, our true state is hopelessness. Minority reacts to SONA, and government committed to ending external debt restructuring process to stop economic challenges, and drama in Parliament as minority caucus delays SONA by 2 hours. That's also captured on the front page of the Ghanaian Times. And well, the Ghanaian publisher, which will be my last, says the 13th African Games Committee replies Ablakwa, and I take both blame and credit of government, says Nana Akufo Addo. And maternal mental health disorder is not madness, says the World Health Organization. Now, that's the front pages of the various newspapers that we have today. And moving on, we're getting to the substantive issues we're talking about. Once again, you can send your contributions to us. Our WhatsApp line is opened. What do you make of the State of the Nation address yesterday by His Excellency Nana Addo Akufo Addo, the President of the Republic? Now, in accordance with the Article 67 of the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, the President or the members of Parliament and the Speaker Judiciary are actually being imposed to receive the President's message on the State of the Nation. And that exactly what happened yesterday at the Parliament House. In the studio this morning for our conversation, as always, I've got in here Adel, Umar, Sheick, Ibrahim. And, he's representing the NDC, the National Communications, and also the Operations Director himself, Youth Wing, Greeater Accra. How are you doing, Adel?
MJ, I'm good. I'm good. I mean, we can't complain. We're grateful to God. We'll get into the issues. I mean, it gets a bit worrying here and there, but hey, We'll get into the
It's
subject.
still gratitude, huh?
Gratitude.
I'm not sure Palgrave will be speaking in the same, well, gratitude, of course. It's still gratitude. But Palgrave Boakye-Danquah is here. He's government spokesperson on security and governance, and I'm sure he'll be very excited about what he heard yesterday as far as the State of the Nation addressed by His Excellency is concerned. How does it feel?
It feels good, KMJ, and a very good morning to you. You look well.
Thank you.
Good morning to Adel. Good morning to your viewing public. And yesterday was a very good day for the Ghanaian people. The President, Akufo Addo, had an accountable conversation. Truthful, honest, precise, strategic, and extremely encompassing of the real state of the Ghanaian economy, how we met it, what we have done with the Ghanaian economy, and the preferred future for this country. I'm pleased with President's constitutional mandate delivery yesterday.
Awesome. All right, so we'll be looking at some of the things that happened, the delay of the start of SONA. We also probably look at the minority, getting all of the Mahama chants as well, and the president's description of the vice president, His Excellency, Dr. Bawumia. I'm sure if you watched, you would see how the whole floor was, when he was describing the vice president who he's hoping that will take over as the president of the nation when he finally backs out in December. But also the major issues we'll be looking at the president admittance to bad state of the economy, and which is taking full blame of, and some people believe that it's a good start, at least for the year 2024. We'll look at the economy, some of the things he said about it, naming and commissioning of Kumasi and Tamale Airport. We also look at the elections 2024, which is promised that there's going to be a free and fair elections, come 7th December. So, yeah, these are the major things that we'll be touching on. But you can also send us some of the things that you also learned yesterday throughout the speech that you want to address, and then we'll take it from there. He also spoke about finishing the cath renovation, the Govrnance teaching hospital, and of course the film industry incentives. He also spoke about that as well. So these are some of the issues that intermittently we'll be touching on the show. So you can also send your thoughts with us here, and we'll definitely get into it. But Big Chef Junior is happening this Sunday. It's coming at 5 p.m. So make sure that you also become a part of that as well. There's more that I'll be sharing with you as we move on. Some other things that you need to check out on the show that I'll be sharing as we move on. But let me begin with Palgrave. Let's look at the floor of Parliament yesterday. There was a total delay of 2 hours, which some people may feel that it affected, the entire proceedings somewhat. The speaker had to apologize for that. I mean, he was on his feet apologizing for that. It wasn't necessary.
KMJ, I believe that the governance structure as a value chain places a lot more premium on these arms of government. The first is the executive, and the second is the legislative arm of government, the judiciary, and then obviously the media. Yesterday was a spectacular atmosphere, especially when the president, Akufo Addo, arrived on time.
Yeah.
Had an opportunity to observe the guard of honor and was ushered into the Parliament House. Unfortunately, we realized that the side of the minority were extremely empty.
Yeah.
And recourse to what they call as monitoring and evaluation allowance, which had not been given unto them. And I'm told that it's a term that is used, but it basically means that it's their sitting allowance and per diem that they were looking at. Held the entire state to ransom for over 2 hours. I was on one of the networks waiting for the president to deliver his mandate. And there was a long conversation. In the end, we noticed that they had come back to the floor of the House for the business of the day to begin. I would state that it was unfortunate that the minority took the nation to a standstill. In the manner in which politics is done at various stages, we know that we need the atmosphere of politicking and the jargons that makes politics sweet, but not on such a constitutional day as it was yesterday, where the president of the nation delivers his account and gives a clear indication of how the state is doing. If you had any politicking of doing, I think that these are things that you could have done thereafter, rather than holding the first gentleman of the land, holding the Ghanaian people, holding the international community, the diplomatic corps, everyone. Because you see, we've had a concept in Africa that we are not disciplined with our timing. And you wouldn't want that from the House of Representatives that represent almost the entire Ghanaian people, because you have 275 parliamentarians. If the minority side, which is about 136 thereabout, 36, 37 thereabout, holds the entire nation to ransom, that's a big deal. And it will be good to have the minority leader apologize to the Ghanaian people, apologize to the majority side of parliament, apologize to His Excellency, the President, for holding his State of the Nation to ransom. But at least we are glad that the Speaker of Parliament, the Right Honorable Sumani Bagbin, apologized and also allowed the President to fulfill his constitutional mandate in accordance to Article 67 of the 1992 Constitution. It is right for me to state that the President, Akufo Addo, yesterday gave a holistic update of how the state is doing. I'm particularly impressed that the President began an update from the security angle, because if you and I can sleep in this country and wake up and be safe and sound, it is because someone has taken care of us and someone has protected us.
Yeah.
Yesterday, in a conversation with some of the international diplomats, they stated that they find Ghana to be one of the most peaceful countries in the world. Why? Because they can sleep and not lock their doors, wake up in the morning and no one has entered their homes. That's a lot of security. And the President alluded to the fact that we are surrounded within a sub-region with military coup d'etats and juntas that have happened in some countries, and then the threats of terror. But as the Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, and also the man in charge of our security, we have kept the borders safe through the Ministry of National Security, the Ministry of National Information, Ministry of Information. We were able to launch the campaign against terrorism, which is See Something, Say Something. The President alluded to that and the contributions that that had made. And the President spoke very clearly about ECOWAS and how, as a country, we need to continue to support the regional body ECOWAS. Spoke about our contribution under the United Nations Security Council, because we were 2-year member term, non-permanent members of the UN Security Council. Spoke about our international security conferences that we had. Spoke about Boku and the issues that are happening in Boku.
Yeah.
Spoke very clearly about the retooling of the Ghana Armed Forces, the retooling of the Ghana Police Service, the retooling of the entire security architecture, and how that is of primus inter pares to him as the President of the Republic of the country. Spoke about the strength of the Constitution, cautioned how we should be mindful in wanting to bring amendments to the Constitution. And I think that for a constitutional lawyer like President Akufo Addo, he's right to make a contribution as it relates to the entire conversation around the review of the 1992 Constitution. And I agree with him, because there are constitutions that have lasted 100 years, 200 years, it's been tried and tested. But for a constitution that is about 32 years, it's important that we allow it to go a bit more before we make some significant contributions to that. The President alluded to the election, which is upcoming, promised that it's going to be a free, fair, transparent election, that what government needs to do in support to the Electoral Commission, government is going to do that. And I think that that was very clear. Called on political parties to ensure that they are responsible in their reportage, they are responsible in their communique, they are ensuring that the electoral processes remains peaceful, free and fair. The president then came onto the courting system, and if you look at it, the president was very confident to be able to state that the courts have not been neglected, that over the past years as a government, we have about 76 judges and magistrates that are appointed. Spoke about the 2 Supreme Court judges, the 23 new High Court judges, the 29 new Circuit Court judges, the 21 new magistrates, the 262 staffs that were recruited to be able to address some of the human resource gaps. Spoke additionally about the infrastructure that we have had to put together as a government in completing all projects that have been inaugurated, and the courthouses that have been inaugurated, and the 121 residential units that have been inaugurated. The president spoke very clearly about that. And then the president confidently stated how the Attorney General has been able to save this country close to about 10 trillion Ghana cedis. Extremely very significant. And I'm very confident with the president and Akufo Addo's appointees and ministers who have credibly distinguished themselves in their roles and responsibilities that has been given to them over the years. The president spoke about digitalization. We have had to digitalize.
You wrap up this one, and then Adel will have a take, and then we'll now narrow it down to
how we have had to digitalize the Ghanaian economy, how we have ensured that there's a smooth, transparent operationalization of our tax system, how we've been able to ensure that we have raked in a lot more revenue to cushion government budget and government allocations. And so for me, the president and Akufo Addo touched on every single aspect of the Ghanaian economy, and none was a neglect.
Okay. Well, we're going to get into the economy itself. We'll also be looking at the commission of the Kumasi and Tamale airports. But Adel, just like he did, your initial remarks on the entire presentation by the president. Of course, we had the issue of the minority, delaying a bit. Also, the president admittance of how the state looks like. Some people are, championing that and making it a good start for 2024.
KMJ, let me say a good morning to His Excellency, the former President John Dramani Mahama, this morning. And I am saying good morning to him because I remember his last State of the Nation's address when he indicated that posterity will be the judge. He indicated on that day that he felt that he managed this country, he governed this country to the best of his ability and made a lot of sacrifices to make sure that we were where we were. When you listen to the words, it says categorically, State of the Nation address. So you're supposed to tell us what is the state of the economy as of the time you took power as compared to the time that you live in today. In 2016, when His Excellency John Dramani Mahama handed over to His Excellency Akufo Addo, we had our debt to GDP at 56. What that meant is that when you basically collect all the resources that you can gather, you have 56% of that to pay debt, and you would have an excess of close to about 44% to be able to manage your economy. Today, debt to GDP, when His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo is leaving, went all the way to 103, which meant that we couldn't even pay our debts. To an extent that now we had to come in and take pensioners' money. You see, you have defaulted. You have gotten to that stage where you can't basically pay your debts because you don't even have the money to pay. In fact, you would have to, after gathering all the resources you have to gather, you still need to find a way of raising 3% extra funds in order for you to be able to pay your debts. This is how bad it gets, and then it came back a bit downward. Your city depreciation. At the time the NDC left power, it was at 4 cedi 20 pesos per dollar. Today, it went all the way to 17 cedis and came back down as we speak. In between January, as of January, it was around 11.2, 11.3. Today, as we speak, we're running, in just less than 2 months, we're almost around 13 cedis per dollar. These are the realities. inflation. We left you inflation in 2016 at 15.4. Today, when His Excellency Nana Akufo Addo is leaving government, he's leaving you inflation at 22.5, 23.5. In fact, food inflation is 27.1. After inflation went all the way to 54%, and then came back down. These are the realities.
He's got a few months more.
Corruption. Oh, a few months. We've seen
He can't change all of that with
nothing. Listen,
you've been given us to face tomorrow with.
You've been given 7 years. We're close to more than $1 trillion Ghana cedis in terms of resources. This is where you have brought us to. Nothing's really going to change. KMG, let me take you to issues of interest rates. Interest rates, the banking sector, all of us know what it means to have enough funds to be able to run your business. We left you interest rate at 25%. Today, you're leaving government with interest rates around 35% thereabout. Growth rate, because of the issues that we went through in Dumso and the issues that we had to deal with, we left you a growth rate of 3.6. Today, you're doing 2.8. How is that a better economy than what we had in 2016? How is that? How is that possible? Industry, we left it for you at 4.3. Today, you're doing 1.0. That's industry. Take manufacturing, we left it for you at 7.9. You're doing one district, one factory. We left you 7.9 without 1D, 1F. Today, you're doing negative 1.0. How is this better? Construction, we left you 8.4. Then the president out said, look, our government has done more construction, more roads, more schools, more blah, blah. We left you construction at 8.4. You're leaving at 14.7. You're leaving construction at 8.4. Sorry, 8.4. You're leaving construction at what? At 5. Unemployment, we left it for you at 8.4. You say you've employed over 2 million people, according to Baumia. You're leaving unemployment at 14.7%. 30% of Ghanaian youth do not have jobs. 4.5 million Ghanaians can't find jobs. This is the state of the Ghanaian economy. Corruption perception. John Dramani Mahama's he's worst in government when it comes to the CPI. Still remains their best, 43. He's worse when he didn't perform, 43. That was his lowest, 43. That has been their best. They've not been able to go above the 43. Did you know that he couldn't mention Galamsey? He couldn't mention corruption. He couldn't mention the issues of what happened in Volta region. And that, for me, was the lowest part. And that is where I'm going to end my presentation on. KMJ, you sit as the head. You say the buck stops with you. We'll come to that conversation later. You sit at the top. People recklessly, deliberately displaced over 40,000 Ghanaians. One man, and this morning, I would want to look into the camera and say, thank you to Okudzeto Ablakwa. One man, KMJ, him, together with the people that he was able to mobilize, was able to put up 300 apartments available to support people. 300, one man. You have a whole government. You have the Ministry of Roads and Highways. You have the Ministry of Works and Housing. You have the entirety of this government. They couldn't come together to help the people of Volta region. He didn't even have the temerity, the courage, after going there and telling them the things that he said, to even tell them that, listen, we apologize and we want to do something about it. Nothing on Volta region. Nothing, not a word. One man, Okudzeto. Let's go on. Let's proceed.
Very well. You can also send your messages to us. Let us know. We're looking at the State of the Nation address by the President, His Excellency Nana Akufo Addo yesterday. That was what happened at the Parliament House. Now, there were, many things that happened apart from that, but I don't know which one of them you want to send your messages on, but you can do so. One issue that had to do with and I want us to start from the unemployment side, which, of course, the minority leader spoke vehemently about before moving the House to adjourn. Now, yesterday what happened was this. So usually after the State of the Nation address, the Speaker of Parliament would actually ask the majority leader what exactly the situation is supposed to be, or the minority leader what exactly they're supposed to do right from there. But yesterday it was not specific. He actually just said, so what do we do? And instead of the usual thing when the minority leader would actually speak before the majority leader spoke. Honorable Afenyo spoke and decided to move the House to adjourn it. But it then came back to the minority leader, and he decided to actually go into some of the issues that the president spoke about. And one of the things he touched on and was very disappointed about was unemployment, which he put some figures on the floor of Parliament to indicate that the president has not really delivered the kind of speech they want him to deliver as far as the state of the nation is concerned. Let me get to you back to you again, Palgrave. The issue of unemployment. The president spoke about it in past times. We've had the finance minister spoke about it. We've had even the ministry in charge spoke about it and all of that. Yesterday, the minority leaders or the minority in parliament were disappointed that the president did not really speak much about it.
Okay, MJ, thank you very much. I think that I need to correct an erroneous lie that my brother Adel has put out, especially as it relates to the Akosombo Dam spillage.
Yeah.
Because I recall that the current government of President Danquah, Akufo Addo, immediately when the spillage happened, had government representatives who went on ground from the Ministry of Finance, from the various sector ministries were there. Greeater itself were there to make sure that significant contributions were made. I recall that when the Minister for Finance at the time visited the spillage, stated that he was going to make a significant input into the budget of President Danquah. We must recall that every single budget that is presented on the floor of the House of Parliament is the President's budget. And government at the time gave close to about 220 million Ghana cedis. It's on graphic online. It would be good for my dear brother to recall that conversation. He says that Akosombo Dam spillage, government of Ghana allocates 220 million to support victims. And it also featured in the president's budget that was done in November of last year. So to state that government did not support Akosombo Dam is a non-stater. I mean, we appreciate the contribution of the member of parliament within whose visit that this issue happened. But it's important that we state very clearly government's bold intervention in terms of monetary contribution and also Ghana's own benevolence from other state institutions and also contributions that were made by the private sector. That said, now unemployment is key for every single country and for every single government. Our government has had a role to play in reducing unemployment, and I can understand the percentages that has been pulled out from the Ghana Statistical Service, the percentages that counts. But you must also understand that every single minute a child is born in this country. Now, if you look at the population of this country and the number of people that are dependent on the meager resources that we have as a country, we would always have challenges with unemployment. But every single government that comes wants to almost always make a significant contribution on how we can be able to reduce unemployment. The question is, how has the government of President Danquah Akufo Addo handled the numbers of young people who have been unemployed over the period from 2017 to date? The government sought to put the country on an entrepreneurial journey, which is why we equipped close to about 1 million young people with grants and resources so they can be able to start their own entrepreneurial endeavors. If you recall, through the NEIP, through the Ghana Enterprise Agencies, through the YEA, through the NYA, through the various youth agencies in this country, we have sought to revamp and give young people a hope for the future. So clearly, we admit the challenges that we have had to face as a government, but we cannot state that we have not solved a sizable part of the unemployed numbers in this country. As it was when there were unions of unemployed graduates, we don't have that today. that union has been dissolved, doesn't exist anymore, because a sizable part of graduates have been given opportunity to work in the private sector, to work in the public sector, and have been given an opportunity to be entrepreneurial. And I've stated that if you look at the entrepreneurial drive of government, time would only be the vindicator of President Akufo Addo's initiative and vision. Because in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, people that were assisted under the government of President Akufo were given grants. Young people that were given opportunities and to work within the precepts and the space of the NEIP, the NYA, the YEA, and all of the various youth agencies cannot be neglected. So you look at unemployment and look at what government has done, and it's clear when government says that we've created 2.1 million jobs. These are jobs that have been created, permanent jobs, that people wake up every single morning, they can go to work, they can come back and put food on their tables. So we appreciate the challenges, but we also cannot neglect government's efforts and government's inputs. Whilst at that, and still discussing the State of the Nation address, if I can zero in into some of the issues, it is also...
Okay, give me a minute. We need to fix something for you, so give me a minute. Let's fix that. Adel, let's get back to it. So, I mean, following Joy News' live stream of the President's address,
right,
you would find out that, and this question I want to ask Palgrave as well, but when we get that sorted, we'll find out. You'll find out that many of the people who were watching were reacting to the president's speech and unemployment. There were people who would come and put messages of not being employed, or those who've been employed and are not getting the benefit that is due them, and all of that. Why are we not getting rights? Is it that the unemployment situation is not the way it is, and people are making it look like it is what it is, or it's just that it's not there?
KMG, listen. This government, they simply just like to talk too much, and they like this whole sloganeering, we're doing this and we're doing that. It's not talk. It's no longer talk. We've gone and grown beyond that. Listen, there's a reason why you did 1D, 1F. There's a reason why you introduced what you call the NAPCO. There was a reason why you introduced what is called the U-Start. It is supposed to solve a problem. KMJ, your 1D, 1F has to solve a problem. Employment problem. Your NAPCO is supposed to solve employment problem. U-Start is supposed to solve employment problem. When it doesn't solve that problem, you're not doing anything. You see, what they refuse to understand is that it is not enough to just say, I am moving. You can move and do a lot of walking. You can move and go and walk from Accra and all the way to Volta region and still not get anything achieved. It is not the movement. That's not it. You understand what I'm saying? Even for people who say they want to train, find somebody go to the gym and do 30 minutes and he's okay and he's gone. Somebody will walk from morning till evening and then nothing is actually changed. There is a way you do stuff. He says, the government is interested in entrepreneurship. That is why the government is empowering people. Look, this morning, when you close, if you have the time, just walk to Abilingpi traffic light. You'd see what is called the Canada VFS Center, the Canadian VFS Center. You would see not less than 200 people this morning up there, sometimes till 7 p.m. in the evening, waiting to submit. Do you know how much people are paying to get out of the country? The lowest you can get is about $6,000, but averagely between $8,000 to $10,000 US. So people are willing to pay close to 100,000, old 1 billion Ghana cedis, just to leave.
That's an individual preference. The person just wants to travel.
KMJ,
it doesn't mean every single person out there, trying to travel.
We have never in a very, very long time have the kind of exodus we're seeing today. Look, if I had 100,000 Ghana cedis, I know what to start with it. For someone to be willing to take 100,000 Ghana cedis, go and pay.
That's what I'm saying. That it's an individual decision. Adel, if you can start something here with 100,000 cedis, why can't any other person do the same?
If things were good, and that 100,000 Ghana cedis, if things were good, trust me, there are a lot of young people who would rather keep this money here to do something.
But the others who have done the same. There are others keeping it and they're doing well.
Those who are managing and lying down and staying and praying is because they don't have the means to get out. So I'm telling you that You say all these beautiful things. You come up with all these beautiful ideas, but you're really not making any difference. Again, he says young people are being born on a daily basis. Yes, but the Statistical Service is giving you an information. They're telling you that 30% of the youth who are capable of being employed are unemployed. 4.5 million people unemployed. This is what we're saying. Our unemployment was never 6 million when we left power. It was never 6 million. So if you have 4.5 million who are unemployed and you are telling us that you've created 2 million jobs, how is it possible that we have 4.5? It's as though you're telling us that as of 2016, we had over 7 million people or 6 million people who were unemployed, and you have now created 2 million jobs, and for that matter, we are left with 4.5. It's ridiculous. People are listening. People are struggling. The reality of the case is that the country is in a mess. There's economic hardship. People are struggling to pay school fees. People are struggling to pay water bills. People are struggling to buy fuel. These are the realities, like it or not. Let's deal with the issues as they are.
Okay.
1D1F has not made a difference. You have your NAPCO. The students are lying there today. We told you. We said, don't do that. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama gave you ways and gave you examples before he left power. And I'll land with this. Listen, we do what is called capital expenditure. He said, look, invest the monies in infrastructure. Reason why before we left power, we left them infrastructure or the infrastructure construction around 8.4, today at 5. When you embark on construction, what you do is that you create temporal jobs and permanent jobs. So I'll give you a typical example. KJT Market, for instance. From the time you start to build KJT Market, all the way to that 3 years, 4-year period it takes you to complete it, you're giving jobs to artisans, steel benders, engineers, drivers.
Delivery of drones in this country. It's amazing that the vice president at the time, you recall, sent young people to Silicon Valley, engaged with the founder of Silicon Valley, and today, Ghana runs the world's largest medical drone delivery service in this country. Ghana. We must commend President Akufo Addo for what he's been able to do. The president was not blinded very much to the DDEP and IMF and the challenges that we have had to go through. But significant to note that the president said that it is for the first time in the history of Ghana that people that have gone through DDEP have been paid huge sums of money in one day. And the president alluded to that close to about 5,847 Ghana cedis was paid to domestic bondholders, and said this is the largest coupon paid in a day in Ghana's history. We have managed this economy very, very well. The president, Akufo Addo, said that the Kumasi airport is 98% complete, which means that what is left is just about 2%. And I am looking at the day where a flight will leave JF Kennedy Airport in the United States of America and fly directly to Kumasi International Airport. I'm looking at the day where a flight will leave Gatwick in United Kingdom, Heathrow, United Kingdom, Schiphol, and come to Kumasi International Airport. Same as well is the facelift that we have given to the Tamale Airport. The president alluded to the fact, and KFJ, you should send people to Tamale Airport. Compare Tamale to how it used to be. It has changed. When I got to Tamale Airport about 3 weeks ago, when I went to visit my pastor, it was amazing. I went to Boakye-Danquah to see Pastor Eastwood. It was amazing. You could see the high level of tourists that are coming into the place and the significant contributions that will make to the Ghanaian economy. And I think that if you look at the state of the nation, as President Akufo Addo has presented it, it's been an honest assessment, it's been an acceptance of our challenges, and this is the first time in the history of Ghana where a government has gone through very remarkable growth in terms of single-digit inflation from 2017, 2018, and 2019. And KFJ, last week, I was in the United Kingdom, and you know, UK is in recession. The whole United Kingdom and Northern Ireland is in recession. And so, really, when people sit in Ghana and play petty politics as opposition and state that the impact of COVID-19 and Russia's invasion of Ukraine cannot be felt in Ghana as it is felt in the rest of the world, I think that they are being very dishonest to global issues and global dynamics. The president stated very clearly the impact, and it's the first time that a government would have such significant growth of the first term, have a dip in the economy, and rise again. It's the first time that this has happened in this Fourth Republic. It meant to redeem the president when he stated that we cannot bring you back to life during the COVID-19 pandemic because we kept the lights on, we paid workers, we paid teachers, we gave external money to people that were frontline workers. And the president said, but we can revive an ailing economy. The president has been vindicated by that from 2021, 2022, 2023, we had indeed turned the corner. And 2024 proposes to be one of the most impactful years as a Ghanaian economy under the leadership of President Akufo Addo.
Very well. I'm going to read some messages. My worry is why all of the things that you've spoken about exist, but yet people still find it difficult to understand that it is not reflective, in terms of their pockets. But
I'll come back.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
Let's read some of the messages that we have from our listeners. This one says, good morning to the listeners. It seems Nana Addo and Bawumia are taking this for granted. I was totally disappointed that Nana Addo refused to touch on the unemployment issue in Ghana. The listeners must take note. The NPP is a party. They are not serious with Ghana. Ghana, I hear Nana Addo say AG saved 10 trillion for Ghana. We're still waiting for the AG to come out with some backings for that figure, though. But then we don't need to go to IMF. And the game changer, His Excellency John Mahama, will come and is ready to rescue this country. The youth are going through hardship in Ghana. The real state of the economy, it's in the market. Abochi Philip from Keta. KMJ, I'm Adams from Kanda Highway. The SONA is hopeless and waste of our time because it's same lies. Okay, let me go to the next one. Good morning, host. I vote for Bawumia. It's another 4 more for Nana. Ghanaians will not make that mistake. Solo from Katamanso sent in that. Good morning, good morning, host. I see the nation address by Akufo Addo is nothing but a joke and comedy made by Bobo Kala. Now Bawumia is not part of Akufo Addo 419, who told the old man how to do propaganda. God Almighty is waiting for you. Greet Honorable Gandu, MP for Tamale South. Arena Joseph for me. To pack from Tamale sent in that one. Okay, very well. Let's get to the next one and see what we have. It says, Labaran from Agnos Radio, I'm very disappointed with the president's speech. Let's send them to the opposition. We're tired of him. Let me go to the next one and see what we have. This one says, good morning, KMJ. I hear the president said he's going to resolve the Boko conflict. Well, the only way is to arrest the rival chief who was illegally skinned and let him go through the full rigors of the law, as that was a flagrant violation of the Supreme Court ruling. Court rulings becomes laws until they are amended. And that's from Hudu Yalkambe in Tempane. Good. The next one over here says, good morning, Joy Prime. The address delivered on the State of the Nation by the President yesterday is empty and hollow. There is no substance whatsoever in the address. We are not ready to entertain NPP in 2025 because they have nothing. They don't have anything new to offer us. He meant to say. Opposition awaits NPP because we're tired of their empty promises. Alasan says from Zeno Central says, good morning, KMJ and my brother Adel. In fact, yesterday, SONA was my sadness day. And I was surprised when the Akufo Addo couldn't find a space in his speeches to sympathize with the man-made disaster that was caused by the Akosombo Dam spillage. In fact, if anybody must apologize, it should be the president apologizing to the good people of Volta region and Kentucky, Aviapong and Alan Chamanting for betraying them to the advantage of Dr. Bawumia when they were associated themselves from the mess caused by this government. Budget allocation doesn't mean disbursement. Okay, please try and help us with your messaging, okay, so we can read. The birthday wishes, yes, keep them coming. We're going to be dealing with them a bit later here on the show. So let me go to this one. It says, hi, host. At long last, it's over with the most noisy and hopeless regime in our history. Akufo Addo will be remembered for his over-bloated government, the fake free SHS, the biggest whole Galamsey economy, unemployed association of nurses, doctors, teachers, Stumso regime, collapse of banks and FM stations, friends and family government. Again, Nana will be remembered for his 50 nuisance taxes and cuts for pension funds, amongst others. Akufo Addo, never again. Kindly add your name to it the next time you do send us a message. But thanks for sending us the message, though. Good morning, Joy. Good morning, Ghana. The president touted himself and his government as having achieved much unprecedented performance in the education sector. But truth be told, this government has completely neglected the basic level of education. Curriculum has been changed for over 4 years with no textbooks to show. Classrooms, furniture, and other auxiliaries are foreign terms in many basic schools. Yet, Bao Promise has the temerity to promise tablets for JHS. What at all does he want to achieve? Votes? Ghana's education is in tatters. Let me move on to the next one, which is coming from Kobe in Cape Coast. It says, good morning. I didn't see what the president did as the State of the Nation's address, but rather campaigning for the party making comparisons not needed. That's our problem as a country. The next one over here says, the NDC have nothing good for Ghanaian. The 24-hour is a scam and empty. Votes for Dr. Bawumia come 2024. Greet Honorable Ms. Mavis Hawa, MP for ASEC, and the MC of Asema from Movement sent in that one. Let me go to the next one over here, and it says that, hi, KMG, your panelists from the NPP mentioned government giving grants to 1 million youth. Digitalization is the agenda, so the NPP should enact an honest review of the digital trail to see where those monies ended up. Government projects have become medium for people and parties in government to line their pockets, whilst the national issues to be handled are left undone. Misappropriation to the cost of the public purse. Edi from Takrade Bogoso and Wasekropong sent in that. The next one over here says that is it not shameful for Palgrave to talk about a so-called unemployed graduate association, an association formed by the same MPP when in a position? Why has the association gone into comatose even at the time when unemployed rate is at record high? Ricardo in Bechem sent in that. Greetings, KMJ. You see, the NDC cannot even express themselves well after a very good presentation of the SONA by the president yesterday. Adel is doing his usual rhetoric and don't have anything new to say. Did I hear him say about 4.5 million Ghanaians are not working? Yes, it's true. And I commend the government because if 30 million Ghanaians are working, I think it's not bad, but needs to be improved. Let Adel tell you how the NDC will solve the unemployment issues when they come to power in the next 24 years. Nana in Aduna Suredru sent in that. Very well. Good morning, KMG. The president said everyone close to him knows he doesn't drink alcohol. I am sure his conscience judging him wrong on what he was drinking at the chamber. That's why he made that statement. I'm sure he did that in jest, he didn't take it personal like that. Good morning, KMJ. As the norm now, the vice president on the 7th February 2024 laid his accountability of his stewardship over the 7 years of the reigns in power on the president when he said he was nothing but driver's mate. Now the president comes to give the account on 27th February 2024, and he also says we should wait for the vice president to develop a digital delivery tracker to tell us all they did were the 600 billion Ghana cedis they spent. Ghana must not sit and watch anymore. Where is the money? We will soon suspend payment of tax of any kind in protest against this gross disrespect. Walter Asen Brofuye sent in that. And the next one over here says that, good morning, KMG. Akufo Addo is the president who has Ghanaians at heart by stating clearly his support for the Electoral Commission to ensure a smooth and peaceful election this year, unlike JM and the NDC followers planning of sending machete and other weapons to various polling station centers. I agree with the microeconomic problem of the unemployment and inflation. However, President Akufo Addo's government has done very well by curbing the unemployment issues with several intervention programs. Our economy is performing well now as compared to Mohammed's administration in education, health, security, agriculture, etc. Bawumia is next driver. Richard K.Y. Mensah in Tadi sent in that. Let me go to the next one we have here. It says, anytime I listen to government communicators, I get angry. The youth are suffering too much, but they are interested in winning elections. Very sad. Inusa from Tamale sent in that one. Let me go to the next one. It says, good morning, my brother. How the NPP deserve as has passed. We are waiting if the time comes from King. Okay, not too sure what exactly you want to drive with that. But good morning, host. NPP should stop making all the noise. They have failed as totally no sector of the economic is working. They should sit better up. And Achu from Katamanso, New Bridge sent in that. Maybe I'll do a couple of them, and then we'll move on. Ghana 2024 unemployment rate is not 14.7%. Read the report well there. 14.7% is the age between 15 and 34 years in the calculations category from Johnson Ayin in Bolgatanga. This one over here says that President Addo, if you have done better, then why is your vice president running away from your record? Don't you think the vice president would have been proud to say he was a spare driver who contributed to your success? Funny. What economic gains are you referring to with your economy that you looted and mismanaged now being in the comatose state when the fundamentals are weak? The exchange rate would expose you. Unfortunately, the exchange rate has gone up today. Honorable Akisme in Sefibekwa sent in that. The next one over here says, good morning, KFJ. I don't understand why people still watch and listen to the president. He always pretends to be what he's not. Since he assumed power, whatever he says tends to be the opposite. It is not the president who has, is it not the president who told us what is going on in the nation? The ordinary Ghanaian knows and understands every Tom, Dick, Harry in the nation. Palgrave, if the economy is managed well, it doesn't affect human beings. Hey, MPP. And that's from Willie in Cape Coast. Good morning, KFJ. In Proverbs 29 verse 2 says, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn. This government is a wicked government. He came to say nothing, so no serious person would waste his time talking about it. Philip in Nasandine sent in that. Good morning, KMG. My regards to Adel. In fact, not a word on corruption, not a word on illegal mining, not a word on poverty or unemployment. And economy mentioned only 5 times, and digitalization mentioned 13 times. SONA, Ahmed Adams from Tamale. Let me do this last one, and then we'll come back to the studio. Let's not play with our destiny as a nation and fall for the NDC. It will be a joke for one to ever think John Mahama has anything impactful to deliver. I'm going to come back to some of the other messages that you have sent. Unfortunately, okay, let's see. Adel,
yes,
so from that NDC note.
Yes, I will pick it up from there. In fact, the one gentleman sent a message indicating that Nana, His Excellency the President, has done very well because out of 30 million people, 4.5 are the ones who are not working. I think his calculations are wrong because out of the 30 million plus we're talking about, you have 2-year-old babies in it, you have 3-year-old babies in it. That is not how you do the calculations. The calculations are based on those that have reached the age of working, and that is what we're talking about, not the entirety of the 30 million. Because out of the 30 million, you have 80 years women and men who are available. You have 100 years people. You have people that are younger than 10 years. All form part of that total amount of people, total number of people we're talking about. So let's leave that. KMJ, did you pay attention to the president's, apology? It's a sad apology. And the fact that he didn't have the courage to actually apologize. And he's still lamenting, between himself and Baumia and everybody else. Okay, this is the president that he has people like in Japan attacking him, people like Kobne Japan attacking him, people like Alan Chementing attacking him, and then his own vice president distancing himself from him. Listen to what he said. SONA, the last 2 paragraphs of page 6. This is what the president said. He said the cabinet, the ministers of state, all act in advisory manner. All act in advisory manner. Of course, a member of the government might take an idea, be it generated by the president or the official or a committee, and turn it into something huge, into a huge success. And the honors will be claimed or shared where public perception, the honors will be claimed. If we succeed, it will be claimed or shared, okay, where public perception fails. When there's a problem too, we share, in terms of the failure. But ultimately, the president is responsible and therefore takes the credit or the blame for whatever happens in his or her government. This is the president. Indirectly taking blame. Indirectly accepting the fact that, okay, yes, well, all of us worked, all of that, but we have to share in terms of what happens. You guys can make all the noise. Remember what happened before they went for their primaries, the presidential primaries? He indicated that, listen, it is not enough for you to go out there and keep saying that, oh, the president is responsible for everything. As for me, we don't have anything to do with it. As for, it's only he says, Ghanaians are not that gullible. Now he comes to tell you that we have to share. Listen to the place that even kills it. Listen, there is no ambiguity about where the buck stops. We all know that. Everybody knows that. When it comes to responsibility for what happens in the government, it stops with the president. Yes, we know. He or she has ultimate responsibility. It will be unwise
It will be an unwise president that will pretend to have all the answers and refuse to take what? Advice from his officials. What is the president telling you? The president is telling you that I'll be stupid. Excuse me my language. I'll be very foolish to come and say that, oh, the vice president is advising and all the EMT they are advising, and then I'll refuse to listen to the advice because I know it all. Because why? Baumia's people are going around and telling people that why? Baumia kept advising, the president wasn't listening. Why? Because they said the E-levy, Baumia wants to cancel it. Why does he want to cancel it? Because he made his opinions known, and then the president rejected. The buck stops to the president, no problem. He says he's going to cancel, what do you call it, emission tax. Why? Because he said he didn't want it. The president is telling you that I'll be an unwise president to pretend to know it all and not to take advice from where I'm supposed to take it from. What is he telling you? He's telling you, you cannot extricate yourself from the problem we find ourselves in. It is a shared responsibility. Yes, it stops with me, I admit. Yes, it stops with me. Even if you fail, it stops with me. I can understand that. But we are supposed to share the responsibility.
Is it not commendable he taking the ultimate blame?
Fine.
For everything? Regardless of all the other aspects of it.
Yes, but when he does that and tries to shield the vice president, then it becomes ridiculous. Because you know why? When you were coming in, according to your general secretary, way back when you selected His Excellency Bawumia as your vice, he said the reasons you gave the MPP and the reason why you said wipe out the 5 years, per the rules that you have to be a member of the MPP, active member for 5 years before you can qualify for vice presidential candidate. The reason why the president asked that they wipe that off and consider Bawumia was because Bawumia was coming to aid in the economy. Every platform the president has had to mention Bawumia's name, he mentions and says, this is the man that is responsible. His wife said, this is the economic waste kid. That's how she called her husband. Says Bawumia is the economic waste kid. You see what I'm saying? So the president has placed Bawumia on that platform and indicated that, yes, he's responsible for the good things we're seeing. He's responsible. Everything that is happening is, basically him. He's the one managing the economy. Today, when your economy is running and growing at a country 2.6, you say we shouldn't call Bawumia. We say the buck should stop with you. But even in the conversation, he's indicated there's a shared responsibility. KMJ, listen, let me tell you, someone is asking about what John Dramani Mahama, intends to do and how he intends to do it. Let me share with you what John Dramani Mahama's message is. Look, his proposal is simple. The first thing he says is that he wants to stop the economic decline and reinstate stability. KMJ, when you're digging a hole and you find yourself in that hole and you want to get out, the first thing you do is to stop digging. How do you stop digging? We look at expenditure and we look at how much money we're gathering and how we're expending the money. So the first thing he says is that, look, we need to reduce the number of ministers we're going to work with. We're not going to do 120 plus. We're going to come down even lower than what we did in 2016. Instead of 87, thereabout, we're going to do 60. What that means is that we're going to save some amount of money. As we speak today, while government is continuum, every single month, government continues to spend on almost 120-something ministers. That is how much we're spending. What His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is telling is that, assuming he's president today, that extra number of ministers would have gone, and that money would have been.
So it means that the reduction is workable.
It's workable, yes, it's workable.
Why couldn't we do it before?
Why did we do it what?
Earlier. Why didn't we start from there?
From when we were in government, we ran with 87. We had what it took. We left.
We couldn't have done 60 at that time.
So here's the thing. We find ourselves in a situation today where you need to do everything possible.
So we're doing so because of the economic challenges.
Things are messy.
If things get better, we'll increase it?
Not necessarily. But he's saying that, look, I can do this with 60 ministers. There are certain ministries that they have. They have about 3 deputies, some 2 deputies. Some have deputies. Some of the deputies even have assistants. We're saying slash all of that out. They are making over almost 2,000 plus people at the Flagstaff House, presidential staffers. He says slash it out. These are some of the things that he's talking about. He's saying, let's cut that down. Let's reduce it. KMJ, when you have enough resources and you have water in a bottle and you drink it and some left, sometimes you want to, even though it's unacceptable, you want to take it for granted. When you have very little left, you know that you have to minimize it. You have to watch. circumstances and situations tells you how to raise your family. From the time when you were making 2,000, 3,000 salary a month to the time when you lost your job and now you're not making any salary, you're supposed to know that if you used to buy KFC and come home and share it with your wife and kids, now that you don't have a job, you don't do that. Go to the market with 10 Ghana cedis, 20 Ghana cedis, buy some tomatoes and onions and come and cook something. You have to be willing to evolve. He says, I'm coming down to 60 in order for us to move the challenges. What did he say again? Aside coming down with this thing, he says, oh, I'm going to abolish ex gratia. When this government leaves, the ex gratia, they should forget it. We're not going to pay ex gratia. We need that money back in the state. He says, let's do that. He also said another thing. He says he's going to reduce the funds that goes to the office of the president. Let's reduce that. When we reduce that, what you're doing now is that you're gathering all the resources. Then he says, now take out the burden on the people of Ghana. Take away something like the e-levy, remove the emission tax, take away the tax on betting, take away taxes on textbooks, take away all these taxes that are burdened. This government has introduced not less than 40 taxes on the people of Ghana. He says, take all those taxes, bring them down so the people can get some ease.
And how do you raise funds to manage the economy of the country?
Yeah, you're going to
But
raise
all these
funds.
taxes contribute.
When you cancel ex gratia and you reduce the
You're use the money from ex gratia.
You're getting money.
It's enough.
No. So what we're saying is that you cut from here, you fill in somewhere. You cut from there, you fill in somewhere. You have to understand that in order for you to be able to stabilize and get your city working, you need to come down to that point where your expenditure must not exceed what you're making. You see, the problem we're having right now is that, like, we left for them a debt to GDP of 56, and today they went to 103, where we couldn't pay our debts, and now internationally, we're not paying our debts. KMG, the reason why sometimes our city depreciates to the level that it depreciates is because whenever you have to pay international debts, you need to gather all your money, change into USD to pay your debts. You're not paying your international debts, which is supposed to actually help you. So we're supposed to actually see the city gain some strength because all those international monies you're supposed to pay, you have all those USDs you're not paying, and it's supposed to make your currency stronger, yet you're depreciating. He's saying that, listen, when you deal with all these issues and you remove all those petty taxes, he says, now let's revive some of the factories. He mentions some of the cotton industry. He says, Paulugu tomato factory, the Walugu livestock, there's Warungu. We've done it before. Elmina fish processing, we've done it before. When you do this, now he says, after you have stabilized and seen everything going on, try to find some job for the young people to do. His solution is a 24-hour economy. Very productive, very simple. Look, that system alone is going to move almost close to about 2 million jobs within the shortest possible time. The people in the MPP shout. The vice president said something earlier. He said, look, 24 is a bad idea. Then his government called him to order. In fact, when he came back from Tamale, they told him, don't move again. They called him to order. Stop talking. You're talking. You look at this, you say it is unacceptable. Then now they come and say, oh, it is already happening. 24 hours is already happening. You can renew your license online. You can. KMJ, when I go online and I fill forms to do a passport, after I have done that online service and I'm done, I have to go physically to the ground to take my biometrics and to take my face, facial recognition. I have to go on the ground. You're working from 8 to 5 p.m., 8 to 4 p.m., you've closed, you've gone home. We're heading onto a race. We have gotten to the place where the world, things are changing. Everybody and most of the countries who have gotten to that place are running 24/7. You go and you work for 8 hours and go back to sleep. The president says, let's not do that. Let's try and catch up a bit quicker. So what we're going to do, DVLA, passport office, after you have done your application, you can decide to walk in at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 10 a.m., capture your fingerprints and walk back home. I go to 37 Military Hospital with my family and my kids. Do you know the time I prefer to go? I go at night. Mostly when I want to go to 37, anytime any of my kids are not feeling well, sometimes if it's not severe, we just want to delay till it's around 9 p.m., 10 p.m. Do you know why? Because by that time when you go, there's no crowd. The place is serene. You go, you see a doctor, they see to it, 1, 2, 3, and then you're done, you're gone. We're telling you that the entirety of the police service that you claim is working 24/7 doesn't actually work 24/7. I'm telling you, the most patronized service within the police service, which is the police report, that office closes at 4 p.m. 4. The entirety of the police administration closes at 4 p.m. In fact, the quartermaster's
police
office.
Patrol.
Yes, so you can
sleep.
So I'm saying that, I'm telling you, that the entirety of the police service administration, you cannot walk to police headquarters at 10 p.m. and lodge a complaint. It's not possible. It's not possible. You go to the hospital, they say 24/7. Yes, we know. You go to the hospital, and sometimes when you need an endoscopy, and it's a Sunday or it's a Saturday, they tell you, wait, the professionals will come on Monday. This is what we're saying.
Yeah, but that's,
we're saying
that's the police headquarters. You can equally go to any of the...
I am not. Why? We're talking government. Government is telling you, these are some of the agencies, DVLA, when you come to places like a passport office, all these places can do. Why? When we built the terminal, what do you call it, the terminal port expansion, before, we didn't have all the huge ships capable of coming. Why? Because the edges, around the edges, the huge ships, because they're anchor, and then the space between themselves on top of the water, water goes down, it is not able to move all the way to the edge. GM said, look, let's move a little further into the sea. So we went a little further into the sea, and then we expanded so that it can have the depth in order for large ships to come in. Do you know that it is actually running 24/7. Takoradi is not running 24/7. That place has been running 24/7. But do you know the problem they have? Even though they're running 24/7, what happens is that when you go through the process and you're done, and you still have to go to GRA, and you still have to run to the bank service to be able to pay your money, because GRA is not working 24/7, they have delays. You have to wait for the following day. So we're saying that let GRA work 24/7. You go in there, you do your necessities, you go to the bank, you pay because it's working 24/7. You go to GRA, you pay because it's working 24/7. The more you're working with that 3-shift system, the more money you're making. If 10,000 people end up going to the passport office, 5,000 of them during the day, 5,000 of them during the night, what it means is that you're making revenues from 10,000 people, not 5,000 anymore. So the issue about how you're going to pay them, it doesn't even come into it. Again, when you do the 24-hour service, then you stimulate it. You see, when Joy FM here, if this place is lively, consistently 24/7, KMJ comes to run a night show between 2 a.m. to 3 a.m., political show, we're having a conversation and the place gets busy, the people around will sell. The reason why they are not selling is because when it touches a certain time, the people who would have been around to be able to purchase are not available to purchase.
2 a.m. I'm just
saying. You understand what I'm saying? So pretty much, at the end of the day, if you take some of the media houses, what happens is that the number of people who are working physically during the day, KMJ, you come here, you do your day job, you go home, you rest. Say you get a little 2, 3 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours sleep, and you know that you can take another night shift job and do between, say, 2 a.m.
Get extra pay.
And get some extra pay. You will gladly do it. This is what the Western world is doing. You know, students will comfortably go to class, lectures closed, and take a night shift and do something to help them pay their school fees. This is what the Western world is doing. This is the places we live. Palgrave has traveled, he knows. So we're saying that this is the alternative. First, stabilize the economy. When you stabilize the economy, reduce the pressure on the people of Ghana by taking away some of the taxes. When you have done that, start expanding on how you can solve the issues of unemployment. If you say digitalization, we say we birth it. When you have this PC, KMJ, you see this PC? When Apple produced this PC and they hand the PC over to you, KMJ, when you open your PC from day one, all that you need to run it is what? The softwares. This is what we did for them. We gave them a laptop. You know, we birthed the whole basics, the whole data, the whole fiber. We birthed it and then gave it to them. I told you the last time.
And then you commend them for upgrading.
We will.
And
we will. So we gave you the laptop, and then you took it, and then you started installing softwares on it. Okay, let's do that. Okay, let's do that. But even that, e-health, we started before you came. E-passport, we started before you came. You came to meet us. You remember when Eslosu went to, the Terminal 3 and then held her passport and showed it on the system, and then it captured and go, yeah, DFO, And this reminds me. Last week, I made your viewers a promise. Oh, on Stallone, I am praying that we get Eslosu's voice and play before my brother here says his statements, because I know very well that if you take away digitization from Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and you take away digitization from His Excellency Nana Akufo Addo, you have nothing left. Isn't it a wonder that today you hear most of what they say, digitization, the economy has been left aside. Even that, I'm saying that, this is what we give to them. Complete, beautiful, sweet, and nice. And then what they're doing is that they're uploading softwares onto it. And when you listen to Eslosu, it will make sense to you.
Let's take a look at this video. When I come back, Padre will have his take.
Into ongoing ejuma to say a car quine, a bind be a boy a cacra. No, we are better to us. You know, but you go so in Kakran, we're narrowing the digital divide. Then you know, digital infrastructure now are buying iron. And more near hina, and this 4 year, yama won't credit.
Data center.
Data center, absolutely critical. Nyomwesi no world class. Yay, the cloud overlay. Ababa betuso. Tina ye one national government cloud. Ye yusu data center no ewo. Me fasa akwenya isu aka atre enyuma ku nyina ewo memu ha se ehu hia se wankasa besi data center. Ye wo world class data center. Ewa ha. Ye yusu for yen services.
So this was in contention sometime last week.
Yeah, I made
with
a US
Stalin, but, Adel promised that he was going to bring the video, and that's the reason why we had to play it. But, Palgrave.
Paul, it's your turn.
KMJ, I'm deeply concerned, really, for the ailing NDC, because for a government that could not keep the lights on, promising a 24-hour economy is extremely troubling. And I quote from the President's State of the Nation Address, page 17. He says, Mr. Speaker, between 2012 and 2017, the early part, there was nothing more demoralizing than the phenomenon called doomsday. It was symptomatic of a dysfunctional system, and it caused widespread, and emphasis for me is depression amongst the business and households. You know, KMJ, I am deeply concerned that the NDC can have the boldness to state that they want to provide a 24-hour economy. I wish that time would allow us for me to bring out the plan that the flag bearer of the new patriotic party, Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, has as it relates to how the Ghanaian economy and the Ghanaian country is going to work from the 7th of January 2025. But I don't want to water down the conversation that we are having this morning because we need ample time to bring about that debate of the flag bearer of the NDC, whom the Ghanaian people have tried, tested, and rejected. Because remember, he lost the 2016 election. Not only did he lose the 2016 election, he also lost the 2020 election. So he has stood as flag bearer for 2016 lost, stood as flag bearer for 2020 lost, and I can promise him, the former president of the Republic of Ghana, John Dramani Mahama, that he will lose a third time in the 2024 general election. Because the Ghanaians have rejected him in 2016, rejected him in 2020, and they'll reject him again in 2024. Because this time round, he's going into a contest with Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, the vice president of the Republic of Ghana, who has been the most visible vice president of the Fourth Republic, who has implemented extraordinary policies that when we ask the former president, John Dramani Mahama, when he was vice president, should tell us what he did. We cannot. And so really, for me, I think that we will need time.
I think it's something that we'll try and put together.
We will need time.
Yeah,
because
and get
the vice
into it.
president and the flag bearer of the new patriotic party has said that the Ghana card would soon, when he becomes the president of the Republic of Ghana, would be the single identity that you will need to get your passport. Because it has the full complement of the biometric, it has the full complement of your data. So really, the proposals that are coming from the NDC are still traditional proposals. They are not innovative thinking in digital proposals that will need to catapult this country into the highest heights. Adel talks about the police closing at 4 and all of those. I think that, you see, it's extremely laughable because the police administration and the entire security administration, and if Adel would mind, I will tell him, the Ghana Armed Forces also closes at 1:30 because I'm a barracks boy. When I used to live at Beba Camp, my uncles were closing at 1:30. So really, I think that, you see, it is not about the time that the security architecture closes, because the fact that the headquarters in terms of offices are not working does not mean that work is not ongoing. And it's important because even at 9 p.m. 12 a.m., you will see the head of the CID, you will see the IGP, you will see the Chief of Defense Staff, you see the Naval Commander, you see the Comptroller General, you will see them at work. You might not find them in the offices, but they are operationalizing the work that they do. So really, I think that when you say that the police is closing at 4 o'clock and you cannot go to the police and lodge a complaint, but we have commanding officers at the various police units. So that is a debunked statement. Now, let's go to the more substantial issue for which reason we have woken up this morning and the Ghanaian people are listening to us. KMJ, it is important to note that the president stated the fishing lands that we have done in terms of the coastal lands. Close to about 12 completed coastal fishing lands in Axim and in Western region, in Moore, in Mumford, in Winneba, in Senyabreku, in Gomuafete, in Otuam, in Infansiman, in Central region, Teshi, Osu, Keta, and other places. These are significant projects that we cannot turn a blind eye to. The president spoke about private partnership. KMJ, it is important that as a government, we recognize the involvement of government and the involvement of the private sector. Because the private sector are the macro of the economy. They hold it very significantly. And I must note here that the president makes special mention of the Newmont Corporation, which is the largest gold production company, and how they have invested hugely in 2 mines in our country and constructing a third one. And the president announced that they are constructing one in the eastern region and the third largest mine they are constructing as well. So really, KMJ, you see, if you look at how we have brought the gold for oil, how we have had to have a gold reserve, and I've stated, KMJ, and you can keep this record. In the future of Ghana, Ghana is never going to go back to any of the Bretton Woods institution to request for loans or to request for aid. Because what is going to stabilize our Ghanaian currency is the thought of having the Bank of Ghana purchase gold and have that as reserves. Because gold is currency. What has made the United States of America, US dollar strong? What has made United Kingdom strong, even though they are in recession? What has made Russia and other global entities strong and countries strong is because they have enough reserves. As a country, we have been mining gold since the days of the colonial regime. We have had independence. In the next few days, we are going to celebrate our 67th independence anniversary. It is for the first time that we are beginning to think of having a reserve under the leadership of Nana Addo-Dankwa Akufo Addo. We have these reserves in this country, and I can promise the Ghanaian people.
Okay, wrapping up for me. Our time is up.
Okay, I mean, I just.
Okay, we're going to do this again.
No, but he has had a whirlpool of conversation.
No, but that other conversation, you said we need to.
Yes, we
can't get into that now.
Yes, I need to be able to state all the things that our government
I need to make my final remarks
done.
too.
And you see, KMJ, when you look at all these
I beg you, my final remarks.
assembling plans that the government of Ghana has brought in, 12 original equipment of manufacturing, Volkswagen, Toyota, Suzuki, Nissan, Peugeot, KIA, Honda, all of them have set assembly plants in this country. Electronic vehicles are also things that we are bringing into the country. So really, if you look at the level of development that the country Ghana is making, I think that the president, Nana Addo-Dankwa Akufo Addo, in the tourism sector has been extremely key. He stated that there was a publication that was made on one of the headlines and stated that Akufo Addo resurrects Nkrumah. And the president said that he gave a pause for a moment, but on reflection, he decided to accept that title and said it is to his compliment that indeed, after refurbishing the Kwame Nkrumah Mausoleum, close to about 208,557 domestic and international visitors have come to the park. It is important as well to note that close to about 126,190 visitors visited the year of return. That was at the time of 2019, and that numbers are increasing. You cannot discount the facelifting of the tourism industry. And I conclude with this. that the president said, we have constructed close to about 150 astroturfs in this country. It is something that did not exist. We have taken sports very seriously. The president referenced his very nice relationship with the former president of the Republic of Ghana, John Silva Santa Mills, and said that sports has been one of the major key indicators in his government. And so these 150 astroturfs that are scattered across the length and breadth of this country is encouraging the young people to have the skill of sporting. And also commended AFCON and welcomed the All Africa Games that we are going to have, spoke about the construction of other stadiums, the University of Ghana that we are having and all of those. And spoke about the GEA 100 million Ghana cedis that has been given as a grant to close to about 300,000 young people. So KMJ, this State of the Nation address conversation is undone because the president's State of the Nation address will last the lifetime of this year until he gives his ultimate State of the Nation address in 2025 when the 8th Parliament comes to a closure. But I must commend President Akufo Addo for his boldness, for his clarity of speech, for his understanding of diplomatic issues, and for his governance acumen. He is one president that we must commend. And obviously, he stated that he has some very good habits that other people do not have.
So in March, what we're doing is this. This is a message that is very important that I need to pass on to you. So in March, what we're doing is Ghana month. We're leaving the entire month in the celebration of our culture, everything. So you all will be coming in natives. You'll be doing a lot of kente, you do a lot of ahenema and all that. So please put that in mind. Every one of
Fugu and the likes.
Fugu, everything. So when he comes in kente or something, you come with Fugu, and then we'll match up like that.
We'll do a blind.
It's something that everybody has to. But we have to be going.
Yes. Last remark.
Are you talking about the running mates?
No.
No, the only thing I'll listen to is the running mates. You have a running mate.
Just something small.
But I don't have time. I know.
Just in a brief second. Listen, what we are saying is basic. The president has been given 7 years. He's going.
Unemployment.
No problem.
It's not
no problem. Unemployment.
So these were some of the costumes we saw in Parliament. Since they are going to go this way, let me do this campaign. It's very necessary to me. That's the second lady over there. Okay, so the first lady over there in a beautiful kente cloth, and this is for Ghana month. We're doing this the entire month. And so please, those of you who will be watching and will be coming on our Zoom to share your thoughts with us, do well to also put on some nice...
the driver's mate.
Okay, there you go. So, I mean, our very own chief of staff looking very elegant in that as well. Beautiful, beautiful. And so they have set the pace for us. The chief of staff, the vice, the first lady, the second lady have all done that for us. Look at our former first lady, looking amazing over there in that. And yes, so we'll do a lot of kente. We'll do a lot of kente for this
That's the ambassador of South Africa.
South Africa ambassador, great. And so Adel and Palgrave, please put this in your as part of your costuming for.
But you know how many times I've visited the museum.
That'll be all for today.
Each time I went there, they counted it as one.
That'll be all for today.
Each time I go there, they count
still more coming up. The big interview is coming up later. What's trending is coming up as well. Tamaklo will be here with some sports updates, and so please do stay. You can continue to send your messages to us here, and thanks for sending in the messages that we read earlier. Unfortunately, we couldn't read all of them. There are lots of them, but we appreciate that you're always part of our conversations. Stay on.